We are at the Global Metals and Mining Conference put on by BMO Capital Markets, and joining me now is a commodity analyst with BMO Capital Markets, Jessica Fung. Jessica, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, very glad to be here.
So Jessica, I know you put out a lot of outlooks regarding the metals, so let's start by talking about gold and silver. We saw gold start off strongly in 2014. How do you see it positioned?
So gold's had a pretty good run, and it's really contributed to, I think, a much more positive sentiment here at the conference this year versus last year. We think it's probably pretty well supported at these levels. I mean, what's really driven gold and silver at this point in time are sort of concerns that the U.S. economy recovery might not be happening as well as many people thought. Of course, some are putting that down to weather in terms of our January and February data that we're seeing, so maybe we'll hold out until March to see, what it might look like in the next few months.
Well, that's really interesting, Jessica, and that's what I'm finding as well, is that we're seeing a lot of mixed data come out of the U.S. right now, so it's almost hard to position the metals, right?
That's exactly right.
And when we look at silver, many analysts had spoken to were a bit disappointed in the metals performance recently. Why do you think it's been having a hard time keeping up with gold?
Silver is interesting. I mean, it's very leveraged to gold, and you would think that it should outperform gold. I think part of the problem for silver is that industrial demand in the U.S. is very, very influential for silver prices. And given the shaky U.S. economy, I think maybe a lot of people are seeing that industrial demand might not be as strong. Industrial demand in the U.S. is about 50% of silver demand. Industrial demand is about 50% of silver demand.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how close attention are you paying to the Fed and the taper program? How much of an impact do you think that will have on the metals?
So, of course, everyone's paying attention to the Fed and the taper program, and most people expect it to continue, as they said. Part of the problem was earlier they had said that interest rates would stay low through next year. And I think that made a lot of people more pessimistic on gold prices, actually, than maybe it was warranted. Now, I think a couple of the Fed members have come out and said, maybe we shouldn't have said that interest rates were going to stay low for so long, and that's given a little bit of support for gold and silver.
Now, I was speaking to an analyst yesterday who was saying that if we were to see a recession in China, that would really hurt gold. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So we don't really think there's going to be a recession in China. It's just got too much room to grow. Could it hurt silver and gold? Yes, in terms of the demand side. And I guess what we would see is maybe a little bit of a weakening of the Chinese currency, but our house view is really not that we're going to see a recession in China. We don't think that's a risk.
So if you see gold getting steadier now, Jessica, what are your thoughts on the U.S. dollar?
U.S. dollar, we still, generally speaking, longer term, we still have a very, very bullish view on the U.S. dollar, and it has a lot to do with the balance of trade. The fact that they're becoming much more independent in terms of their energy reliance is going to play a big factor in supporting the strength of their dollar.
Finally, Jessica, if I had to pin you down to a trading range for both gold and silver, what numbers are you looking at?
Sure. So I think a good trading range for gold would probably be sort of in the, let's call it at the low end, maybe around 12.25, and in the high end, possibly close to 1,400. I mean, we'd have to see a lot of negative data to come out of the U.S. for that.
So this is over the year, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And for silver?
For silver, probably, we could probably see it fall to below $20, actually, on the low end. And on the high end, let's call it 22.
Finally, Jessica, I had to ask you about production. What are you seeing in terms of gold and silver production? There's a lot of mixed reviews that when we speak about production, of whether there's enough gold or is there a shortage, is there not? What are your thoughts?
So we still expect production, mine supply, to grow this year and next year. We're seeing some of the projects sort of be delayed, but those are years away. So the operations that are running are going to continue to run, and they're going to continue to expand. The ones that are commissioning this year will continue to ramp up. So we still have growth in production profiles for the next couple of years.
Excellent. Jessica, on that note, thanks so much for being with us.
Very, very happy to have joined you.
And thanks for watching our coverage from BMO's Global Metals and Mining Conference here in Hollywood, Florida. We'll have more for you throughout the day. In the meantime, you can email us any comments or questions at newsfeedback@kitco.com or follow this conversation on Twitter @Daniela Camboni. Thanks for watching.